Welcome back, everybody. This is Bryan Rector here on Confluence of Worlds. And obviously, as you guys are well aware, a lot has changed, but truth be told, a lot has stayed the same. Here's something that's a little bit different, though, today, is we have our first track and cross-country athlete, which I would say that's our first dual sport. So that's pretty cool to have you on, Lexy. But just want to say thank you guys for having tuned in for as many episodes as we've done. And this right here is somebody who I've admired from a wide angle, right? A 10,000 foot view for a couple years. And I'm really excited to be sitting here with you and really thankful for you being here. And just want to say that. And also want to have you introduce yourself. So I said, she runs track, she runs cross country, and does a whole lot of other things that we are going to break down. But Lexy, take it away.
Well, let me just start by saying thank you for allowing me to be here. And I'm so happy that you just said all that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Anyways, I'm Lexy Alston. Yes, like he mentioned, track and field and cross country. Last year, I was on the track and field roster. I was running the 400. And this year, I switched to the cross country roster to do a 600, 800. So a little bit more middle distance.
For sure.
And we can't forget that I did do soccer. The soccer.
Had to get that.
I did.
I knew I forgot something.
Yes. So I did soccer for a year and a half at Eastern Michigan before I transferred to Michigan State.
Yeah. So with that last part to it is like, I want to go two places. First, I know you guys were just elected to nationals. So congratulations on that. And love for the team and the program to be receiving that type of recognition. I was curious, first off, bare bones, before we get into the thick of it, what does that feel like to be able to attend nationals and be able to understand that you put the time in, that you've gotten the results, and that you guys are ready to go?
What I think is interesting about it is only a couple girls get to go and represent our entire team. I'm personally not one of those women, but the ones who do, I'm incredibly proud of them. I mean, they do it for all of us, and just because we're not competing doesn't mean we don't have to, put in the effort, be a good teammate, show up every day. So I think that's interesting. I think as a whole program, the track and field team deserves more recognition for all the hard work that they have put in. I mean, we're Big Ten champs. Like, that's awesome. That's incredible. And the women keep going as well. Andy Nolan, he's another one. He's on the men's side, but he's doing a phenomenal job as well.
For sure. And I know, I really appreciate what you said about the continued exposure, right? And the increase in, name and image, which is something that we'll get into a little bit later in the show. But it's necessary. And if you keep winning Big Tens or getting there to that point, that threshold of being a nationally known team, you need it at some point. And it's been cool to see that soccer's winning and the women's team just won the opening round of NCAAs and that volleyball is better than they've been in a while, and you guys are doing what you're doing, so I love that.
And I think it's just cool to see these sports who aren't as recognized get this type of success.
For sure. Let's go somewhere else, though. Let's go all the way back.
Oh, wow.
So I know. We're going in deep here. So my understanding is you're from Amherst, Ohio, right? The northeast corner. And I was just curious if you could touch on what it was like. What was your journey? What, is your background? Where do you come from? And how did you get here? I know that's a lot to unpack. But we can do it in parts. I just want to know.
I guess, I grew up very blessed. I mean, my parents worked very hard to give me a very nice life. They both worked jobs, and gave me everything I wanted. Not that I was spoiled or wanted a ton of things, but they made sure I had the best life possible, along with my brother. So I'm just extremely thankful for them for working so hard to give me this life. I mean, I wouldn't be at Michigan State without them, honestly. But yeah, I mean, we grew up, we went to church. My family was all very close. My family initially my dad grew up in Holly and my mom grew up in Saginaw. So we're Michigan bred, but my dad's job took us to Ohio. So most of my family remained in Michigan, but we would always travel up here to, have holidays, or just my cousin is up here. My cousin's still one of my close friends. So I would just say overall my family was really close. We'd drive 3 hours just on a random day because we were so bored and wanted to go see each other.
Absolutely. I know you just had the opportunity to head home, right? And to see what that was like.
I did.
Again, how did that go?
I actually haven't been home that much this year. Okay. So And there's a reason for that. Okay, so my brother has this big dog, and it sheds like crazy. And one thing about me is that I do not like to be around a dog that sheds.
Okay.
So I have avoided going home because of this dog. I love her. Like, don't get me wrong, she's a cute dog. But every time I get clothes on and her hair and all that. So I've avoided it. But I finally was like, you know what? Let me go home. And I had a great time. You know, me and my mom, we watched the football game together. My dad was around. My brother wasn't around, but it was his birthday, so he was celebrating with his girlfriend, which I understand, but it was really nice to be home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we got to connect a little bit about what that would look like, and, you know, both be in Ohio, conveniently, on Saturday or Friday. But
you drove right by my exit.
It was crazy. I know. I texted her. I went, hey, I'm in literally your hometown. I'm like, wow. Okay. But here's where I want to go, though, is so making it through high school, right, and getting to a point where you were making a college selection. And you kind of touched on it just now with your background and having Michigan family. But you went to Eastern, and then you've come here. And honestly, like, I was wrong, clearly, but I would have tagged you as somebody who would want to stay closer to the immediate home. And so I was interested in that. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what happened with you attending Eastern and then making your way over to East Lansing.
Well, I mean, for me, Michigan is my immediate home. And I knew one thing that was really important to me when it came down to picking a college is being somewhere where my grandparents could come watch me. And it wouldn't be too far because I mean, you know, time is precious, so I want them to be able to see as much as they can of me. And they were at a lot of soccer games. Unfortunately, they couldn't come to. They were at my one track meet that we had at home, but unfortunately, they can't come to as much now. But I'm thankful that they got to see what they could. So that's mainly why I wanted to stay in Michigan. So originally, when I was in high school, I was looking to go somewhere for soccer, which is why I went to Eastern Michigan originally. And then the transfer to Michigan State is another story, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
We might have to. we might have to, basically.
I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, no doubt. But no, I'm super interested in obviously, the transfer portal has been a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways for a lot of people. What was that process like? And how did you end up determining that you were going to leave and that you were moving somewhere else?
That was probably one of the most terrifying decisions I have personally had to make, just because, I mean, going into the unknowing is never going to be easy. And for me, I knew that my soccer journey was going to be done, and that's like, soccer was like a huge identity for me. Like, making that decision, I felt like I no longer had my identity. And I was, you know how that goes, you know, you're just terrified, basically. That was the only thing I felt. But for me, leaving soccer was a choice that I had to make for my own mental health, because I began to struggle with that. Just, you know, we were having the best season. There was just a lot of things behind the scenes as well. And I knew I had to separate myself from that for my own sake. And so it was a decision that I made. And I'm so thankful that I did. And the transfer portal, a huge blessing, obviously, because I'm here and I'm super happy with my decision.
That's delightful. I'm really excited to know that it can work, right? And that you can place trust and faith in the understanding that it is a system, but more often than not, you know, it's designed to be helpful. And in your case, it did. So I love that. But I was curious, like, this feels like a really good time for us to just go a little bit into your faith background. Right? And I know, like, oftentimes, folks, as long as you're following along with Lexy on social media, wherever, if you know her, you'll understand that you're definitely active in terms of what you're posting about related to faith and to your understanding of the way that the Lord works. So I was wanting to know, given how complex that is, of making a life change, losing soccer, moving somewhere, like, what did that have to do, how was that intertwined with your faith journey?
Honestly, okay, so I mentioned that we grew up going to church, and then with soccer picking up and just life picking up, really growing up, Sundays no longer became really about church. We had games, we had practice, we had whatever. So I fell back on my, you know, faith and, you know, going to church, putting in my hours. But so that, I don't know, I was a little disappointed in myself. And up until recently, I mentioned this to you off camera, but I'm really trying to invest more time into, you know, my faith, my background with that, going to, you know, Bible studies, doing all of that, just because it is really important to you. I started doing this thing where I wake up every day, I'm like, God, I trust you and I still believe. And it just makes you feel so empowered to start your morning like that. And so I'm just happy that I'm getting back into that, and I'm thankful for my friends who are helping me in that journey as well.
Let me ask you something. I love to hear that change, right? And I love to hear that, you know, that's something that's been on your heart and been a conviction. Do you have any idea, have you thought about why that kind of happened? Like, was there an event that you said, oh, you know, I would like to reintegrate this? Like, where did that come from?
Honestly, if I'm to answer that question honestly, a lot of it came from my coach helping me. She pointed out, she's like, Lexy, you really haven't been yourself recently. She asked me if I was attending AAA. I said, you know what, I haven't really gone recently. I've just been so busy on Tuesdays. And I really was just struggling, you know, with juggling everything, and it was kind of just weighing on me a little bit too much. And as for like my season wasn't going the way I wanted to, so that was weighing on me a little bit. And just, you know, outside factors, I just let it get to me, and I slipped away a little bit. And now, you know, I'm trying to get back on track, and it's showing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's tremendous. And I know, like, folks, I really want you guys to listen to that and to hear that, because it's so outrageously important to have models like that who are willing to identify where you're not doing as well as you can, right? And understand that, hey, this is the way to redirect, right? And this is how you can find that again. So I love that. But I'm curious, despite all of that, like having returned, you know, and been a little bit more yourself and made some strides, why do you do what you do? Where does your drive come from? What are your motivations? What are you trying to get to?
I actually really like that question, because honestly, when I think about answering that, I just want to be happy. I just want to live a happy life. I want to live, I mean, we talked about me traveling and just enjoying life. One of my biggest things is I want to enjoy life. And when I'm not putting time into my relationship with God, I feel like I'm not enjoying things as much as I can. Or I'm just sad for no reason. Things like that, you know. So that's why I'm putting in that work towards that relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like that connects super well, because one thing I happen to know from knowing you on a outside perspective, as we had touched on earlier, is your work ethic is like second to none. And so I'll just, you know, throw that compliment your way.
Thank you.
But it's deserved, though. I mean, there's, once again, this is from me scouring the internet to find out every detail I could. But there's a video that came out from your time back at Eastern that was showcasing some of the work you do, whether it be in the gym, whether it be on the field. Now that's more parlayed to the track, obviously. But what does it mean to you to have that attitude and to know that you're willing to do that work, you're willing to go the extra mile?
I think a lot of that stems from, you know, me talking about my parents. I mean, their work ethic was insane, and I just want to follow in their footsteps and make them proud and just continue with that legacy, because it really is that. I mean, they've worked so hard. I wish you could have seen that, but that's kind of where I get that attitude from. And I'm really like never satisfied. There's never enough. Like, you can always do more. And I'm not the type of person who likes to just sit still or just like have downtime. Like, I always need to be doing something. I always need to be bettering myself in a way.
What are your goals in your sport before it? Because I know as a senior, you know, it's getting to the point where it might be coming to a close, right? And we don't even need to talk about that. But I'm curious, is like, what are you looking for within the sport and within teams, and where are you headed?
Well, as I mentioned, this is going to be the first year I'm actually trying the event I'm going to be doing. So I'm kind of staying open right now. But obviously, you know, I just want to be as successful as I can in that. It's a new event for me. And honestly, last year was the first year I did indoor track, and that was a whole new experience for me. So I'm hoping that I can improve in the indoor track this year. That's going to be a big one for me. And just being happy with my time, walking off, knowing like I left it all out there. I think last year I struggled a lot with being happy with my performance because I knew I had more to give. So I want to make sure every meet this year I'm satisfied with what I did, and I make sure I put it all out there.
That's something that's really interesting, and I feel like what you just said is a theme that we've talked about for a couple different points, is you always wanting more and always pushing to that next level and trying to achieve. What are some of the other things that you do around campus, and how are you involved in the Michigan State community?
Okay, well, you know I do the Big Ten Student U.
I don't know anything. I'm learning it all for the first time.
I do Big Ten Student U,
Yeah,
which is a program here. I do Spartan Sports Report, and then if we want to go back to athletics, I'm part of SAC, which is our academic council, basically, that there's reps from each sport. I'm sure you've talked to some already. There's reps, and then we have meetings bi-weekly, and so I'm part of that as well.
Where did that come from? The narrative that you wanted to not only be a high-level competitor, but that there was more to do off of the playing surface. It was like, when did you start getting into all that?
I knew I wanted to get into SAC because academics to me is no different from sports. Like, I am a high-level competitor in the classroom. I love to have, high honors. I love my GPA is like a priority for me, if not like one of the top 3 priorities I have right now. I'm very academically focused as much as I am athletically focused, so that's big for me.
Okay, for sure. And then this is the thing that I know the most about is all of the SSR, right? The Big Ten Network, the Spartan Vision. Why are you doing that stuff? Because obviously we work together, and the one thing we know and that I wanted to impart upon you guys just about those programs is that they function at a really high level. The leadership is just fantastic. And as well, there's a pretty big athletic movement in terms of athletes joining. So where did that come from? Why are you as elite as you are in that domain as well, being a commentator and being an analyst? I'm so intrigued to unpack all of that. And I know you have a story about how that all ties together.
Is this the Jenny test?
Yeah, but we don't have to get there yet.
Okay. Well, actually, I did not know I was going into broadcast journalism before I came to Michigan State. When I was at Eastern Michigan, I was studying exercise science. And then I just was there one day and I'm like, I want to do broadcasting. So when I switched, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And funny enough, I got connected with one of the professors, L.A. Dickerson.
Shout out L.A.
Yes.
I am joining SSR next semester.
Shout out L.A. for sure.
I needed to throw that out there. As soon as you said the name, I went, oh, it's time. So I hope that we can cut this clip and share it with you, Ms. Dickerson, because, seriously, thank you.
I actually got connected with her through my team. My coach gave me her number. And so, again, that's just another one of those connections through sports. And I reached out to her, and she immediately, just like you, she's like, yes, we would love to have you, we'd love to welcome you in. And so I knew I was coming in behind because I switched my major. And so I was like, I would love to join you guys. And I just did as much as I could. I traveled to New York. I woke up, I drove 9 hours. I went to Chicago. I went to Columbus. I just did as much as I could to kind of play catch up almost. And so I'm still feel like I'm doing that. I overload. I'm in 18 credits. I did 18 credits the last couple of years. Just, like you said, I like to work, I guess.
Absolutely. I would say I'm really fortunate because we've connected more lately.
Yeah.
But before having known all of these details about you and understanding a little bit more of your story, this is just anecdotal from my point of view. Folks, I would look at what she's doing and go, how? What is going on right now? I've never seen anything like this. So I think it's really cool. And I think that a lot of people now will see that and know that there's a blueprint for it, for being able to do all of that. So let's talk about your level of commitment. Because as you just mentioned, you were able to go to New York. You've met freaking Jenny Taft, who is, the cream of the crop, really is true.
Shout out to Jenny Taft.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I might do? I might tag her, and then we might try and blow this thing up. But seriously, it's you've had all these experiences during your time, and you've really maximized what you've been able to do. Tell me a couple of those stories.
Okay, well, we can talk about the Jenny Taft story, which I'm so incredibly thankful for.
Yeah.
So we have this academic celebration towards the end of the year just to recognize, students or student athletes with a certain GPA or higher. And we always have keynote speakers and an MC, and one of them was Jenny Taft. And I had heard that, and I was like, oh, wow, I would love to meet her. And thankfully, one of our SAC reps, Angela Monti, was like, she needs somebody to kind of show her around Breslin. And I was like, me, I want to show her around Breslin, please.
Yeah.
And so she was like, okay, that would be great. And I was just so excited. Oh my gosh, I wish you could see the text of my mom. I was so excited to meet her. I was just like, what should I wear? I was just like so like nervous. I was nervous because she does exactly what I want to do, like a career-wise. And so the day came around and I was just waiting, and she came in and I was just like still nervous, and she was the nicest. She was so nice. I'm just very thankful for meeting her. Very humble, her story was amazing as well. She told her story to so many people, and she, one of the things she mentioned was that she was nervous she was nervous to go up there. And that actually made me feel a little safer because I get so nervous as well. And to know like somebody as like professional and as well known as she is still gets nervous, like that was comforting to me as well.
Sure.
And just her story as well, like she started at a place and she ended up at this amazing place. Like her sharing that story was just very motivational for me, and I'm just thankful to have met her and to still be able to connect with her.
It's important, and this is a highlight
Connection
that I get from what you just said, is that people out there have this light and they want to be able to share the wisdom and knowledge that they've accrued throughout their experience. And so there's no shame in being able to take that step and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is where I want to go, this is why I do it. And it's met with such an incredible story like that. So thank you for sharing, because I think that's something that will end up being powerful for anyone and everyone who listens and is like ready to attack what they're doing.
Right.
So I love hearing that.
Just you cannot be afraid to make connections with people.
Yes,
it's gonna be a little scary. It's like I also get nervous just meeting new people, but I know connections are gonna be huge, especially in the field that we're in. The connections is everything.
Yes, undoubtedly. One of the things that I was really intrigued by when I started to bring together some information to prepare for the show is that you've been able to travel a whole lot, right? And had these different types of experiences, because we've touched on being a competitor. We've touched on understanding where you're headed with your career path. But what has that been like to kind of sit back and smell the roses, as it were, of all these different places? And give me a story, if you have one.
Oh, I got a story for you.
Okay, about your travels and being around the world, around the country. I would love to know.
Well, to answer your first question, like I said, one of my biggest goals is just to be happy and enjoy life. And one of the things that go along with that is to see everything. I mean, the world is huge, and I could not imagine just only staying in Michigan. I need to see everything, even after in May. I mean, my mom and I are planning a trip to go out to, just explore Europe and just, bounce around.
Okay.
We don't even plan on getting a hotel or anything. We just want to bounce around.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, so I do. I really enjoy traveling. There's just too much of the world to not go and see. And as for a story, I will tell you about my worst travel experience.
Oh my goodness. Everybody, if you've been marginally tuned in, please, for the love, listen right now.
Because I feel like, everyone's expecting a happy story. Oh, wow. No,
Yes.
I'll tell you my worst story.
Here we go.
So we were like going to Costa Rica, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like my dad's like, we're staying at a condo. I'm like, okay, cool. And so we're going to Costa Rica. We get there. I'm like, okay, I'm excited. And we drive up and we pull up to this place, and I'm like, where's the condo? I'm looking around, and Dad's like, that's the condo. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, that's not what I was expecting, but that's fine. And we walk in, and no one told me that Costa Rica had a lot of bugs at it. And I hate bugs. So we open the door, and I see ants on the ground. That was my first problem. I see ants on the ground. I'm like, okay, like that's one little thing. And then I go upstairs to my room, and there's this cockroach that's like this big in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, no. So I'm playing like the floor is lava. Like I'm not touching the ground, nothing. My dad's like, come on, like this is our first day. I'm like, get the bug out of my room. And so, that's fine. Like we move on, and then a couple days go by. We do a lot of fun things. We go zip lining. We go, do a lot of cool excursions. But then I'm sleeping at night, and I hear all over my room, and I start screaming. Like my dad thought I was like being murdered or something up there. Like I'm screaming. And I'm like, I hear something. And they finally all run up into my room, and it was a bat trying to get into my room from the outside. And so I just, by then, oh my gosh. And then I finally am like, okay, you know what? Let me go to the beach and try to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
These waves are like huge. And I don't know why I thought that I could get in the water.
Mm.
But I'm just like, why did you know that? I get in the water, and the wave takes me out, and I just go under and just start getting messed up by the sand. And so then when we got home, I still had sand in my hair from that. And then to top it all off, I got E. coli, and I had to go to the hospital in Costa Rica. I had to go to the emergency room because I got E. coli. And then I lost my AirPods.
On top of all of that?
On top of all that, I lost my AirPods, which is probably the worst thing.
Oh my goodness. What?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
So it was just like a series of bad events.
So that's a serious amount of adversity
It was so bad.
that you had to deal with there. How in the world did you remedy that? I mean, how did the family get through that?
They left me at the hotel. Well, they went out and enjoyed the...
Oh. Oh.
That's how they remedied
Oh, jeez. Okay. I was anticipating a brighter end to the story.
No.
Once again, as you had said early on. Wow. I was not expecting that.
I didn't want to hold it back, so I was like, you guys go. I was literally like, the E. coli was so bad.
Wow.
I don't recommend anybody getting E. coli.
Wow. Lexy Alston taking one for the team.
I did. I tried it for everyone, and I don't recommend it.
Or 7. I mean, that was like a serious, traumatic experience.
It was.
But all jokes aside, because that was crazy. I don't even know where to go with that. Other than, let me ask you, is like, that was one bad experience, but you've had some good ones too.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the perspective that you've gotten? What are some of the lessons that you've learned from seeing other cultures and seeing how people do things?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I think just to be able to explore other cultures and, it really humbles you and it makes you grateful for what you have here. Because, I don't know. It's a very interesting question. Every time I go somewhere, I come back more thankful for what I have and for the blessings I have here. Because
Absolutely.
when we travel, my mother, she doesn't like to stay in inclusive resorts. She likes to really indulge in the cultures.
Okay.
So that's one thing that we do take.
Yeah.
We do like to do.
For sure. If you could go anywhere in the world,
Oh wow.
where would you go?
Oh wow. I see. Normally I would say Paris, but I feel like that's not cool enough. So
That's pretty cool.
It is cool, but maybe Antarctica. Okay, so I actually did ask my mom to go to Antarctica. She thinks it's crazy, but I would like to go there.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Uh,
I knew that was gonna be your next question, and I don't know why. The penguins, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's really good. Have you seen the animated movie Surf's Up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
There it is.
That's not. But they're in a warm place.
Well, I understand.
But they're not in Antarctica.
But no, I'm just talking about the penguins.
They're in Hawaii.
No, I know. But Cody Maverick originates from a cold place. So.
He's a chicken, doesn't he? Hang out?
No, Chicken Joe. Cody Maverick.
Why do you know all their names?
Okay, moving on. That was unbelievable. I had to throw out a cinematic masterpiece. That honestly is my favorite animated movie.
Does that not take place in Hawaii?
Well, they leave from Cody's Island to this tournament area, which is at the tropical island.
Oh, so it's been a minute since I've seen that movie.
I think you got to go back and watch it.
I might have to.
Yeah.
I might have to.
Yeah.
And the Cody voice has been popping up on my TikTok, so that's probably a sign.
That'll give you insight into this Antarctica trip that you want to do. That's crazy. Let's go somewhere else though. That's related largely.
Okay.
But what is your relationship with monkeys, Lexy?
Oh wow. So we went to that was the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
So we went there, and I knew one of the things. Monkeys are actually my favorite animal.
Sure.
So that was one of the things that it was during a time where we had to wear masks still, we were juggling with that stuff. And so I just knew it. I have to see some monkeys. I have to see some monkeys. So my parents were like, we gotta take her to see some monkeys. And I don't know what I was expecting, but it was not what I got. They jump and crawl all over you, and they're actually terrifying.
Sure.
It was terrifying.
Wow.
But I got some good photos. But they're terrifying. And they will steal anything you have in your hand. Anything. Anything.
Anything?
Anything. It felt like spiders crawling all over you, and they're so fast.
So after that experience, are they still your favorite animal? Where would you assess that?
I think I have to switch dolphins.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Okay, for sure. Wow.
They're still up there.
Next experience, swimming with dolphins. Have you done that?
No.
Okay.
So we went to SeaWorld one time.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason we went there was because, have you seen the movie Winter? Winter the Dolphin.
Yeah.
So that was huge. Like, that was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I knew that Winter was there, and I begged my mom. I said, "Please, can we go see Winter?" And she took me to go see Winter, and they were filming Winter 2 at the time. So the dolphin wasn't even there.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Deprivation of the experience. That's horrible. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch up. Because there's another element to everything that you do that I'm super intrigued by. I mean, this, honestly, when I saw this and heard about this piece to your journey, I just went, okay, now, to me right now, I don't even understand, but I do want to understand. So I say all of that because you've been an active participant in pageants over your time. So where in the world does that fit into everything that you do? And how did you get into the scene of participating?
I mean, I think we've touched on it a little bit. I will do anything to kind of, build my name, build my resume, and pageants is one of those great ways to do that, and you get so many connections from doing pageants. I think I think people look at them a certain way, but don't really understand what goes on with the pageants.
Sure.
There's a ton of connections you make, a ton of friendships. I mean, I've had so many friends, and recently the one I competed in was in the Miss Michigan pageant. It takes place over a couple days. It was out in Port Huron, and it was just an incredible experience. I hadn't done one in a long time, or really been in that scene for a very long time, since I was a kid almost, and I just was like, you know what, this is something I really want to get back into and just help build my name up a little bit. And I got a lot out of that experience that people don't think they understand, you know?
Okay.
There's a lot to it, and I had a great time, you know? There's different aspects to it. It's 2 days, first day and second day.
Sure.
And I did well in the swimsuit aspect. I placed top 3, so I'll take a little win with that.
For sure.
What?
No, I was wondering if you were going to go anywhere else with that, honestly.
No,
but
I can. I just think a lot of it is about, it's, you know what I mean when I say, people look at pageants a certain way.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that people are like, oh, well, they're not, it's got a certain way, a look to it. But that's really not what it is. The whole experience is about empowering women and just, not only, focusing on what's on the outside, but really focusing on what's on the inside. Are you a good person? Do you deserve to be up there? That's really where a lot of the pageantry stems from. I mean, you don't get to see the interview portions or just what goes on behind the scenes. Girls helping oh, you need this, you need this, you need this. Just being a good human is mainly what those are about.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And so on top of understanding that there's the physical aspect to it, there's the additional part. And I was wondering what were some of the things, because you had to speak, right? Am I right on that? There are speaking parts that you have and interview series. What were some of those questions? What were they getting at? What was kind of the preface to all that?
I think a lot of the questions are basically just, if you were put in a certain position, what would you do with it, or what direction would you take it, or what's important to you as a person, how would you help others? Just a lot of questions about your humility and just what's important to you, morally.
Okay. I know, we got to touch on when we were speaking a few weeks ago about how you're involved in the community in some ways and are working on some, whether you want to call it outreach initiatives or being involved. So I was wondering, to segue right out of that, right, the connection to pageants and how you have to answer questions like that, what are some of the things that you're involved in with the community? And I know you touched on the SAC initiative and different, are there any other things that you're involved with?
So for SAC, we break down into certain groups. There's 4 different groups, and I'm part of the outreach group, which basically means we just organize as many events as you can in order to help others. So one of the things we have is, putting together boxes of toys for kids that are going to be sent out. I know a couple people went shopping on Sunday for that, and just various things like that, which are important. Food drives, another one we just recently did. And what else did we do? We did a couple other ones around during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We passed out ribbons, just as much as we could do to get the community involved, or just make them more knowledgeable about certain situations going on.
Certainly. That's amazing. And I really appreciate hearing that, because being an athlete and having the background that you do, that leads to such a platform that, you know, you'd almost be, I mean, misguided to not use. So I love hearing that you're taking advantage of that. Another way that you can certainly take advantage of that is through the NIL sphere, right? And that even, honestly, has quite a bit of connection to the community side. There are a lot of ways that you can do that that are directed at helping people. But I was interested because you just had an opportunity with the National Guard of all organizations, right? And like, it was cool because obviously we had just passed Veterans Day recently, and Michigan State did a really good job, I felt like, at having a flyover for football and having a band tribute to the armed forces, and wearing the type of uniforms that are, you know, or warm-up gear, I should say, that are, you know, camo, and these different things around campus. But what was that like with that NIL opportunity, and what are some of the other things, if there are more, that you've been able to do within that space?
So that is my only NIL that I've taken place in, just because, like you said, it is a unique one, and it's one that personally I really was grateful to get, because my brother's in Air Force, my grandfather fought in the wars, and I just knew this is one I really want to do. So a year ago, there was an NIL basically meeting, and they were there, and they hadn't really been involved in NIL too much, and they were hoping to get involved. And so I went up and I introduced myself, and I gave them my name, and they were like, we're trying to, you know, get involved with some student athletes around here. I was like, well, just take my name, and like, I would love to, you know, be involved with you. And so I heard, they reached back out to Darian Harris. Shout out to Darian Harris, who, you know,
yes,
does all of our.
That is the guy at Michigan State to be on the forefront and to pioneer all this.
Yes.
So serious shot.
So he was kind of, you know, he connected us again more recently, and they were like, they would love you to participate. And yes, I would. That was my first one, and I had a great time. I'm not sure if you got to see it, but there was me as well as 2 basketball players and a wrestler who went, and they showed us one of their helicopters, and we got to sit in the seats and kind of explore it and just learn a little bit about what they do and the hard work they put into things. I think that was a really cool experience, and we got to take photos with all of them in their uniform, and I thought it was very unique and very awesome. Just not even from an NIL standpoint, but just from like an experience to have and appreciate.
I think the thing that I've been most touched by listening to all of your different stories is that you have an unconventional approach. I mean, I'm not sure of a lot of people who would do things the way that you've done them. And so seriously, I want to say that's commendable, and I love hearing that. Wow. Night guard. So on top of that, right, as you said, that's the one you've done. And are you thinking of pursuing others? You know, is there anything in the works? You know, is there anyone that you would want to connect with?
I think NIL is a good opportunity for a lot of athletes, but for me, it's just not really been something that I've been heavily involved in. And unless it was a situation like this where it was an organization that I really want to work with, you know? Yeah, absolutely. I so appreciate that. I think that's something that a lot of players could do better, honestly, understand it, is that it's purpose driven, right? It's about the why. That's exactly. For me, it's completely purpose driven. Like, yes, of course, you know, if you have if you really want to go make a couple bucks, like you can do these little ones. But for me, you know, it's for me to have my name attached to something, I want it to have like meaning behind it. And like I said, like for me, that was awesome because my granddaddy and my brother, it's just personal connections.
That I have to say, like, I'm very, very excited to hear that. You know, I'm somebody, once again, I like doing a project like this. I like sitting here and having these conversations. And that was the most fulfilling answer about NIL that I've received. So that really inspires me, actually, to know that there are people out here who approach these things this way, because it could be seen as just an avenue to achieve, you know, some more followers or some more dollars in your account. But oh my gosh, I'm really thankful that you said that, and that's the way that you're, you know, feeling about it. How would you assess your time at Michigan State? Because and that's crazy. Like, even more if you want to touch on it in college as a whole. But I was just thinking the immediacy of being at Michigan State. But I know you're almost done.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about what you've done? How do you feel about who you've met? what you've been able to do? What are you thinking?
I think overall, just my experience has changed who I was from when I left high school. I was somebody who I don't even recognize anymore to who I am now, and I'm proud of that growth that I personally had. I know there's still, of course, a long way to go. Nobody's ever gonna be perfect, but I think I'm really just proud of my growth through my time here at Michigan State, just all the experiences that we've talked about, and just the journey that I've had, and I just feel like I continue to become a better version of myself.
Excuse me. If you had to point out the one way that you've seen the most growth in your life, what would that be?
I would say, bear with me on this one, but in high school, I was not the most approachable person. I was very antisocial almost. I had my headphones in. I didn't really like to engage with people. And I think going to college, I really came out of my shell in that manner, and I really enjoy meeting people. I really enjoy these type of interactions. I love talking now. I just think I've become more social in a way, and just accepting of those type of conversations. So I'm not sure what it was then versus now, but I'm just proud of that.
Absolutely. And you'll be finished in May, right? Is that true? Okay. Yep. So is there anything that you want to do or an experience you want to have before you leave?
Man, I feel like I've experienced so much. I just, at this point, what I want to experience is I want to have my senior day. I would with the graduation. Those are the main things I look forward to now. And I know it's going to be sad when it's over. Of course, that's always going to be sad. And it's going to be scary because we talked about going into unknowing with entering into the portal. And I feel like graduating is another one of those times where you're going into the unknowing.
Yeah.
And I haven't really... so I don't know. I have to start looking for what I'm going to do next. But right now, my focus is going to travel right after graduation. And then I'll worry about the rest when it comes.
Okay. Yeah. That was going to be, and you've done this a few times, which I appreciate, because we're in lockstep. That was going to be my next question is, okay, after you finish, where are you going? Yeah. But, okay, that's cool. And I hear you. And I think based off of everything that I know to be true, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to excel at whatever it is. So I'm just feeling pretty good about where you're at. And I think that you have a lot of reasons to feel good about where you're at as well. I know that we've been touching on a lot of things, and we've spent quite a bit of time rapping at these people, giving them the wisdom and the knowledge and your background. But I do have a couple more questions, and I would want to lead into kind of the closing here by asking who at Michigan State has made the biggest impact on you and what you've done.
Okay, well, we already mentioned LA. I have to mention her again. She's just been a huge mentor for me, as well as Jamal Spencer. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's one of my professors as well. They've just been huge mentors to me as when we discuss my broadcast journalism and just my career. They've really helped me on that. But when it comes to me just being a person, I have to give recognition to my coaches and just for them believing in me, really just continuously. They don't. Nobody deserves really to be on the team. We have to earn it, and they have to believe in us to be able to do that. And I think just having them constantly believe in me every day has been a huge help for me just as a person. So I have to give them a shout out. And then my teammates, of course, are. When you think about Big Ten champions, I think you have to think about team chemistry behind that because that plays a huge factor in being a successful team. You could have all the talent in the world and not be successful if you don't have team chemistry. I think having them and having such a strong team chemistry and being able to have so many friends even when you leave the track, you see them when you're walking, you're like, hey, what's up? Having that basically when you're anywhere, you have the power of 48 other girls behind you. And I feel that no matter where I am. So my teammates as well have been huge.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think all of that makes sense. I think that there are different pieces to the approach, and they all have to come together to make it work. So I really enjoy that. But is there anything else that you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Well, I feel like we've touched on a lot.
Yeah.
Are we missing anything?
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, is there anywhere else you might want to go?
I just feel like the main thing that we need to remind people is just, there's always room to transition, always room to go a different direction. I think a lot of things we discuss is just me, pivoting or going somewhere else, or just, trying new things, exploring new routes. Just, I think a lot of people get stuck in their own way and don't feel like they can do that. So I just hope if one thing you can take out of this is just, you always have that option.
And, I think this is a really good time to bring home the idea that, folks, the plan is already written, right? I mean, it's just incumbent upon you to use the skills you've been blessed with and the resources that are at your disposal to be able to find and carve out what the path is going to be, right? Or to blaze that trail. So that's a perpetual reminder. So I'm really glad you finished with that. Listen, we're going to get out of here. And I hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed this interview with Lexy, Alston, and myself. I know I have. This is going to be one that I look back on for a long time. And I'm just, once again, so thankful for you for being here. And how can people connect with you?
Can you link things? How does this work?
For sure, yeah. So basically what I'll do is I might do an overlay of an account or something. Yeah.
I would totally, I encourage anyone who has any questions to reach out to me. I would love that.
For sure.
I'm always willing to have conversations or just, like I said, I'm big on meeting people now. So I'd love for people to reach out to me. So we can really link anything.
Okay, sounds good. So definitely, folks, look for either the overlay, if we do that. So it might be right here. So we'll try, or
right here somewhere.
Yes, somewhere in this vicinity. Or we'll just throw it in the chat and in the comment section. So folks, let us know what you think about the interview, and connect with Lexy, because obviously, as you heard, she is a wealth of knowledge and understanding of all these matters that we've touched on, and just really fortunate to be sitting here. And I hope you guys have a great night.